Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and fight fans around the world. It's your boy P. Welsh here with another UFC picks, previews, and predictions. We got UFC Fight Night Canada, Moreno versus I didn't space it. Albazi. Coming off an 8-5 week. Wish I got the Chimaev pick right. Looking back at it, but pretty solid week. We're starting off Air Canada in the women's flyweight division. We got Jamie Lynn Horth versus Ivana Petrovic, 6-1 versus 7-1. Fourth coming off a loss. Petrovic coming off a win. A good solid matchup. We got a lot of Canadians on the card, of course, and you got a moderate favorite in Horth here. And I think a lot of that is a little Canada bias right now. Last time, I don't think the Canadians fared too well here, and I don't know how much that is going to affect my picks and predictions, but I'm not going to say it's as a slam dunk as it might be other fighters in other regions of the world. I'm starting off here with Petrovic. I really like her as an underdog. I think she has a lot of ways to win the fight. I think a reach advantage. I think a volume advantage is definitely on the cards for her too. I think she's a stronger fighter overall from what I've seen as well, and I just can't see how Horth is a minus 200 favorite. Maybe she has the potential like KO power, but I really don't think I don't think her competition has been there. I think this is her toughest test. While Petrovic has been in there with some pretty solid fighters, Carolina's not bad, finishing Lang. I mean, any finish in the UFC in the women's division is impressive enough. I think Petrovic got a great chance to put another win on the record. I think this fight goes to the decision. I think it will be a very closely contested fight. And I'm leaning Petrovic here. I just kind of liked her game. I think she'll have a little bit more volume, a little bit more ferocity. And I don't know. I just don't understand why Horth is such a favorite. I don't see anything in her like build up that warrants that besides her being, Canadian. The metrics even pretty across the board, so it seems like a pretty much of a pick 'em. That being the case, I like the underdog here, Petrovic. I don't always think they handicap these women's fights properly. So that being said, it kind of gives me a little bit of a feeling to go take the women's flyweight Petrovic. I think she's a more talented fighter. I think she's got more pathways to victory, and I think she'll control the octagon and just have the energy to win. Petrovic, women's flyweight, pick one. Let's go. Moving along, ladies and gentlemen, Chad Anhelinger, 13-7 versus Cody Gibson, 21-10. Chad coming off a win. Cody, I think he's coming off a win as well too. A good win for Cody. Slight favorite for Gibson here, and he's got a big metrics. He's got the length in there, and the reach, and I think that's where the big advantage comes in here. I can see Gibson getting a surprise finish. I don't think he'll go for some grapple games, but I think we'll see Chad try and close the distance at some point and maybe get caught coming forward in a clinch, maybe a little guillotine action. I always think that with these big fighters against some of the small guys, if they try and negate some of that space getting tight. I mean, Gibson just has a lot of experience, right? I'm not saying it's all good experience, but just I feel like he's going to be able to catch Chad. I don't have a lot of confidence in Anhengler, getting finished by another long fighter like Jose Johnson gives me pathway to victory. I know was late in the fight, but at any point he could be caught there and not be able to get out, not be able to leverage his strength and his speed and his length if it's tied up close and he just can't get around him. I like Gibson here. I think he just has a pathway to victory that's not on the judge's scorecard, and if he can control the fight, I think it's pretty much he can get it where he wants it. Let's just move on, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on to another bantamweight fight. Heavy on the bantamweight fights here. Yeah, just keep it Gibson short and sweet there. We got Shuri Sidhi versus Garrett Armfield. 10-2 versus 10-4. We got a big metrics advantage for Sidhi here. And that's where I'm kind of leaning here again. Not that I don't like Armfield here. I think he's got great KO potential. He kind of reminds me of Matthias Rumbecki in the bantamweight division. Just somebody like short, stockier, got the longer arms, but can do a hell of a lot of damage. He's got to be able to get in and out. He's got to be able to have a good, matchup. Some, lefty, stylistic matchup. Something I probably need to look a little bit more into. Are they southpaw? Are they orthodox? What kind of striking comparison can we see? Maybe see a left versus right pathway to victory. Something I need to probably do a little bit more research in because with that Orably pick, I mean, if you could, once you saw the matchup live in person, you can see how it plays out. It was definitely way closer than the odds makers made it, and that was kind of a bad read on the Orably last week. So I always got to kind of think that those options are available for the short, stockier fighter. A lot of times, the longer fighters do tend to win at range. I mean, look at Murphy and Ige. I like City here. I mean, Armfield could be coming in swinging off a loss. Again, the Canadian bias is maybe potentially going up here, but like the length again, man. In these lower divisions at bantamweight, just allows you to control the fight a lot better. The power is not always there at 135, 125, even 145. That's why it's impressive what Volkanovski and what Topuria do at that weight class, because it is kind of hard to get that KO power. So that's why I like City here, because I think he can control the fight better than and putting himself in position to take a KO loss, which he's never been finished. So I don't see it happening from Armfield here. If he was in form, maybe finishing some other fighters, I could see it possible, but he seems more of a grappler, wrestler, anything. So if he can't get his length on somebody longer, he'll have a very good balance in the takedown defense, potentially. We see that in these matchups. I like City here. Armfield could come in there, show us he's a special prospect, but let's see what he's got for us, because he has been susceptible to getting finished himself as well. Boom! Moving on. We go into the heavyweights. Get heavy. Alexander Romanov versus Rodrigo Nascimento. 17-3. Romanov coming off a loss, I believe, to Almeida. Jolton Almeida got finished. Versus Nascimento, 11-2, coming off a loss. And I don't know how this is a pick'em. I mean, granted, they're both heavyweights, and they both have a similar record and similar, maybe a little bit of a reach for Nascimento here, but that shouldn't make you I think Romanov is a clear better fighter. I can't. I mean, maybe he takes an L. Maybe he's not as fast as Nascimento, but I don't think Nascimento has done anything to say he can beat a top ranked. I don't even know if Romanov is a top ranked that got him 15th, but I mean, he is a ranked heavyweight. I think he's way underrated right now. Granted, he really hasn't beat anybody great, but the thing about the freaking heavyweight division is it's kind of like your matchups over time. Like, so many guys you just put out and then they're just gone. So you just got to wait and find yourself some good ones to fight off against. And I think Romanov gets himself a nice win, makes him some waves here. I don't think Nascimento has very many ways to win besides getting it to the card, maybe trying to work a sub. But that being said, I don't think he's ever really proven to get that sub in the UFC at that kind of level. 4 years ago against Dontel Mays, Romanov is way better than Mays. And that conversation will play out later in another breakdown in the heavyweights. But I mean, I like Romanov here as a freaking 50-50 split. I think it's even way more convincing for me to pick him here. I just think Nascimento is just gonna, if he just gets hit, man, your game plan is gone, and you kind of seen that happening. You got crushed, you got cracked by Lewis, and Lewis didn't look his best. I mean, you lose to Chris Daukaus by KO to lose your undefeated record. I don't think that record's very, very flawless. Romanov here, probably longer than it takes for me to break down the video. It might be a 1-2 minute fight. Boom! Moving on. We got featherweight bite Jack Shaw, 17-2, coming off a loss versus Youssef Zala, 15-5-1. Jack Shaw KO lost to Jordan Brito, where he got his leg kicked in, the doctor stoppage. That was nasty. Zala, dude, explosive athlete, took Topuria to the decision. I like Zala here. I think he's going to finish him probably with a sub. Nothing against Jack Shore. I think he's a fair competitor, but I think he lacks that athleticism that some of these guys can possess. Even like Brito, right? Like, if you're going to say Shore is a striker, Brito outstruck him with ferocity and intensity, and he was not as technical, right? Like, if you got somebody like Shore, you need to be clean and technical with it. Like, aspire to be freaking Topuria, man. I think Zala's got a way better chance in a road to victory. Looking at some of his wins, sub, he's really got a chance to just control the fight and get it any way that he wants. I think this is easy money for Zala here. And, again, we can always be wrong picking how they weigh in, whatever, but I think Zala has got a real Topuria call out in his mind and his heart after him seeing KO last week. Be like, I want Topuria in a rematch, something over his gourd that he doesn't necessarily need, but I think he's got the talent to potentially get there. Losses early in his UFC career against Topuria, Sean Woodson, so not scrubs at all, dude. He's been on an absolute run, finishing everybody, and I think that continues here today, or on Saturday, I should say, in Air Canada. Zala against Jack Shore. Man, oh man, I think Zala is a pretty high level contender. We'll see. He has to really see what happens when he matches up with like an elite striker. But I think his ground game and his distance is very well suited to get him another win here and move up into the featherweight, pantheon, because it's a dangerous division. Featherweight might be one of the 35, 45, 55, some of the best athletes. And I think if you're not a super athlete like Shore is, if you're just kind of a bigger fighter type, you're just gonna get outmaneuvered in the octagon at some point. 5'10" athletes can be freaking incredible, right? Weighing in at 145, he can do stuff that Shore can't even probably think about. I like Zala here. Easy. I say easy money here. I think he's got one of the better pathways to victory, and I think he's really got a chance to make an absolute name for himself. Minus 258, one of the more substantial favorites that I actually think gets the job done. I think a lot of upsets happened this week on the quote-unquote handicapping betting side. I think there's a lot of people that are overvalued, undervalued, but in terms of some of the more clear-cut favorites, I think Zala is the most confident pick on the favorites for me this entire week. I think he's got the best pathway to big victory. He's the biggest favorite odds that I think will definitely take the job done. And we'll move on to, ladies and gentlemen, bantamweight. 14 fights on this card, man. And Air Canada is going heavy. Speaking of Air Canada, we got Charles Air Jourdain, 15-8-1, coming off, I think, a couple losses versus Victor Henry, 24-6, 5'7". Jourdain coming down from featherweight to bantamweight here, I think is going to do him great justice. He got KO'd by Silva. I just think he felt some power of some real 45ers that were guys even coming down, and I think he knew it was time to move on. He had a good little run there, but I mean, I think he saw it's just tough for him to compete against somebody like Woodson. He had a couple good wins against, Gracie, but he wasn't really, he was just grappling. And then Ramos is not the sternest competition. He has won after his loss, but I think Jourdain coming down the bantamweight makes him absolutely vicious here. Henry, a tough competitor, but I think this will make a great scrap. I like Jourdain here a lot. I mean, again, Henry is definitely live for some a good competitive fight. I just don't see him having the finish potential that Jourdain does. I think Jourdain can get the grapple finish, and he's going to stand on the feet and look to respond to Henry's grappling and outstrike him. I think he'll have a better stand-up game, and he'll be able to handle his own, with the submission attempts in the guard. Wherever Henry tries to take it, I think Jourdain will be very competitive and be able to handle his own. I think dropping that extra 10 pounds is going to be huge for him. I mean, he stands 5'9", and he looks a lot longer than that, especially for Jourdain, I'm saying. I'm a big Jourdain fan, even though he's taken a couple losses. I think he's a very class fighter. I think he's got a very well-rounded game. And I think it's one of those things when these guys find their right situation, I think he's going to try and get a finish here. I know he thinks he's on the clock a little bit, and I like Jourdain here. It's nothing against Henry. I think Henry's a great competitor. I think he's got great potential. I just don't know if I like this spot for him. And again, this might go to the card. I hope this has a chance to be fight of the night. I hope these guys leave it out there, because I do think Henry's got some great potential, and I think he's willing to risk it for the biscuit. He's got a couple nice wins. And some good performances, but I think Jourdain needs it, and we're gonna see Jourdain needing it. That's why I'm picking him for the win in Canada as well. I think we've seen him. We've seen Jourdain at highs and lows, and I think it's a good buy low spot for him in a bounce back situation in a place where he could probably more physically dominate, right? Going against Gene the Lord Silva on short notice is not where Charles Jourdain is going to shine. He's kind of got he needs to be prepared. He needs to have a game plan. He needs to want to execute. He's got to be very comfortable, no mistakes, try and fight flawlessly and get that finish against somebody that's, in my opinion, at least equal in terms of skill and potential in terms of mixed martial arts. Let's go. It should be a great fight. Charles Air Jourdain, give me the dub. Moving on, 2 more fights on the undercard here, ladies and gents. We got Ariane Lipski de Silva, formerly known as Lipski, in case you're on the books, 17-9 versus Jasmine Jazz Dervicius, 11-3, coming off a win. I feel like a very close fight. I don't understand how Jasmine is another minus 200 favorite. I think we got a little Air Canada bias going on. But I mean, I think Lipski Ariane has got a great chance to finish the fight. I think she's got a great chance to win the fight, and she's who I'm picking to finish the fight. Nothing against Jasmine. I just feel like she hasn't brought her best game against her best competition, and I think that's what's going to come up today against De Silva Ariane. You know, we're going back to Maverick, Tracy Cortez fights with an L, while Ariane has just been fighting better. I mean, granted, she has taken some losses, but wins against Aldridge, Gatto, and O'Neal in the last, since the start of 2013 is a pretty substantial resume. And a loss to Karine Silva is nothing to be ashamed about because she's been on a roll. She's physically imposing for the bantamweight, and I think she's a good competition. So that being said, I got Ariane De Silva Lipski on the books. Call her that. I think Jasmine is just overvalued and overrated to where she needs to be in this fight, and I think it would serve her better to be an underdog and have to fight with that dog mentality versus you think like I'm at home, things are gonna go right, and kind of need things to go too right for her to win, in my opinion. I think if this is a true scrap, it's gonna go to De Silva, and that's where I think that's where I'm going with the pick. I think it's going to be split decision, very close. I mean, 29-28 both ways, and you can see some boo birds coming in there, but I think we're going to have a clear winner in Ariane De Silva, and nothing against Jasmine. I think I picked her in her last fight, but wins against Gatto and the other win that she has in her book, I'm losing it off the top of my mind. Those are big wins to me. Casey O'Neal, she turned out to be better than that loss. You know what I mean? Like the fighters after she has won have turned out to be better. So even if she's coming off a loss, I think it's a great value spot. Bang! Moving on, ladies and gentlemen. The feature prelim bantamweight division: Arame Zahabi versus Pedro Munoz. Zahabi 11-2, coming off a win versus Munoz 20-9. And boy, I like Zahabi here. Another one very close to a pick'em, and I think this Munoz is just over the hill. 38 in the bantamweight division. You got to be an explosive athlete. I think Zahabi's he's not a young guy by any stretch of the means, but that Pedro Munoz that used to be ranked 15th, I don't know if he's still there. Took a bad loss to Kyler Phillips, got beat up pretty bad. Zahabi's on a nice form. Basherhat win, Archie Lang, Turkios, so some good wins. I think his training sessions, I'm a big fan of his coach. I like what they got going on there, and I got Zahabi with the win here. And this is kind of I'm kind of fading Munoz more than I'm picking Zahabi out of pure wins, but just out of the last fight again that Zahabi had, he looks so good. It looks like his training is cleaned up. I mean, Munoz's only win is against Chris Gutierrez, Jimmy Rivera, and Cody Garbrandt since 2019. Doesn't give me any reason to pick him to win this coming Saturday. Now, maybe he can prove a nice win, a walk-off, but I don't want him getting, having to hang up the gloves because I think Zahabi's got some brick hands. He's got a good game plan. He's got the training techniques. My guy is putting in the time. Like, that's the one thing that I know about Zahabi. He is not missing a training session. He's going to come in there. He's got the reach advantage. He's got the height advantage. I think he absolutely starches Munoz, and we can maybe see a finish. I really hope to see one in terms of fandom, excitement, and, just that team. He's kind of part of the GSP tree. St. Pierre coaching tree, and I think he's one of the coach's brother from St. Pierre, and I'm really pulling for him. I hope he has a great win. I hope he has a great performance. I got Zahabi. He's on my pick. I'm being a little homer. Pick Munoz if you want, but I can't get behind Munoz. I'm just not a fan, right? Ever since he got the eye poke from O'Malley and just couldn't continue, I think he's just been that's the 35 and older curse on these lightweight division, on these later weights, is crazy. Like, when did Munoz fight O'Malley? That's a big question. That was literally I think that's when he realized he couldn't hang. It was probably like 3 years ago at this point too, right? No contest O'Malley 2022. So, he was 36 then, and he kind of realized that O'Malley's that young gun, super, super strong, fast guy. And Zahabi, I think, again, dude, he's got that freaking just decade of hard training. Zahabi all day, baby. Let's move on to the main card, ladies and gentlemen. What an exciting fight. The guy, Mike Malott, 10-2-1 versus Trevin Giles, 16-6. Both men coming off a loss. Heartbreaking loss by Mike to freaking Neil Magny in the third round. Got finished arm triangle or something, and Trevin Giles. What do you want to say about Trevin Giles, man? Not on a good form. Getting finished left and right. Not too many good wins in the last handful of years. How do you not pick Mike Malott here? I don't know. You guys pick Trevin Giles, more power to you. If he gets the win, even greater power to you. I just can't get behind it. I'm not saying losses to Bonfim and Prates aren't impressive, right? But, like, the straight left that Prates hit him with, the guillotine choke, Bonfim's went down like a ton of bricks since that fight. Like, he hasn't looked really good. I like Mike Malott here. He needs to get a big performance. I expect him to take him down, control the fight, and if Mike's really also got to get a finish here. He's got a urgency to get a finish. I think he's got to put some name for himself, because in the welterweight division, if you're not getting finishes, you're just gonna get moved on by guys that are. Like Prates is a great example of fighters who you're like, if you just get finishes, you're gonna move up in the rankings way more than if you're a great prospect. Slowly, but I mean, then you take an L. It's not like he lost to the guy above him, Magny, so there's some great welterweight fighters that are really Michael Morales, bro, on a finishing train against Neil Magny, who he just finished. Mallett's got to put one on the board here, and I expect it big time. Trevin Giles is just not the guy that I expect to I hate to say it, man. I hate questioning fighters, but just as somebody that's breaking it down, I struggled to pick him showing me the heart to overcome somebody like Mike Malott, maybe laying everything he has on the line, putting in one of his best performances that he knows he might need to take. I like Mike Malott here, coming off a loss, feeling desperation, big prime prospect, 3-1 in division, needs a big time win. He grappled Giles in years ago. Needs a big win. He needs a big win. Let's go Mike Malott here. Boom. Moving on, middleweight. I always thought these guys were heavyweights, or at least light heavyweights. Marc-Andre Barriault, 16-7, coming off a loss versus Dustin Stolfus, 15-6, coming off a loss. And I mean, what do you want to say here? Let's start with Stolfus here. 2-5 in the UFC. Losses to Ferreira. Reverse. I mean, come on, man. I am not picking Stolfus there, bro. He come on, Marc-Andre. I think he lost to Joe Pfeiffer last. Was that it? Overhand right. And then Chris Curtis beat Anders, who's looking better. Lost to Fluffy. Chidi's a strong guy. I mean, both guys got a chance to get knocked out, but I like Marc-Andre here. Another little Canada bias here. I'm anti-Canada bias on some, but I think some people who have been there before, it's going to favor more favorably. Like Barriault here, I think he'll return it. He'll 3 fights in a year, 2 in Canada. He fought on the first Canada card. I think he gets a little redemption this year. I think that's eating at him. Overhand right from Pfeiffer out in 1.5 minutes. Not too much damage. Against Stolfus, how can you want to pick Stolfus at any stretch of the imagination here? Coming off like he's 2-5 in the UFC. Loss is just absolutely brutal. I mean, Abus and Bruno, who fought last week. I mean, that guy got KO'd by both of them inside a round. Like, those guys are great middleweight fighters in a way. They had great prospect potential. They put on a great show. I think Barriault puts him out, man. Nothing against Stolfus. I got UFC Cutlass coming next Monday. Mearshart finishes I mean, it's just not it, bro. It's just not it. Marc-Andre Barriault, I think, gets a win in Canada. Let's just keep it short and sweet. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on. Let's go heavyweight division. We got Kai Machado versus Brenderson Ribeiro. 8-3-1 coming off a loss versus 15-7 coming off a loss. Ribeiro. Let's start with Machado there. I picked him last time against Dontel Mays to my better judgment, and he got absolutely worked. He lost to Mick Parkin. Dude, I don't know how he's a favorite. Give me Ribeiro. I know off a couple losses, Ribeiro knocked out in the first round, got freaking stomped in Abu Dhabi in June, majority decision. I think he comes in there with a big KO potential. Think he's going to be faster than Machado. I think this is a Ribeiro spot all day. I think he lost to Mang Yang Zhang to punches to hammer fist, but that was a 1.5 minute fight. He lost the exchange light heavyweight. I think he just bullies Machado. So Machado just going to try and grapple him, take him down. I think Ribeiro is going to again, desperation, I think, reads here. I don't know how Machado is that big of a favorite, losing to Mays like that and losing to Parkin. I mean, Donchel Mays just got beat up after that. I mean, MMA math don't always make sense, but I cannot pick Machado here after he gave me that other L. If he gives me an L, that's fine. I got Ribeiro. He owes me. I think I picked Ribeiro against Zhang. I might have taken a loss earlier in the year if you check the VODs. I'm going to Ribeiro to give me that win back. I think he looks better than the losses that he's taken, and I think Machado is worse than the losses. He looks better than his record is showing, so, or he looks worse. I don't know. I don't trust him. He's going to try and take him down. If he can't take him down, he can get caught real quick. I think the speed, power advantages with Brenderson Ribeiro here. And like I said, if you're going to get outstruck by Dontel Mays, you're going to get outstruck by Ribeiro and hopefully get put out here. Let's go, Ribeiro! Boom! Moving on, ladies and gentlemen. Another heavyweight fight. Big boys fighting in Canada. Derek Black Beast Lewis, 28-12 and no contest, coming off a win versus Jonathan Dinzy. 6'4", coming off a win against Carl Williams, and again, this kind of seems to me like another Lewis spot. I might be a little bit of a fool picking Lewis here. I'm gonna go with it. I don't trust this Dincy guy. I don't understand some of these lines. I mean, I can see Lewis not showing up like he has many times that we've picked him personally and even bet on him way in the past before we started doing this stuff, but I mean, Dinny's looked really good against Carl Williams, but he's been cut. But I mean, against Derek Lewis, I can't see him looking as good as that. I can just see Lewis getting some desperation. I mean, I don't know, man. He wants another paycheck. Does he want to? Who does he get after this? I don't know. I do. We always do wonder which Derek Lewis will show up, right? I think he'll show up. I mean, I don't know what Dinzy has. He's just gonna outbox him. Like, I mean, I guess that's the thing. If Lewis just doesn't throw, that's his loss condition. But like, has this guy has been Dinny's has I don't think ever been really hit by anybody with the power of Lewis. So is it going to be like the first time this guy gets hit? Is he going to go down? Because he hasn't fought anybody, bro. He hasn't really fought anybody in terms of heavyweights. I mean, my guy Lewis has fought Ngannou at least. I got D. Lewis here, man. I don't know what's going to happen. It could definitely take a big fat L being 39 years old, but I don't really want to go against the KO power. I don't really want to pick against Denny's just because he's a favorite. I don't really trust the books this week. I'm looking at a lot of these things, and I think they get some of them right. I think that some of them they're way off on. So I think this is one. I don't know how we can not get behind Derek Lewis here. I think he KOs him. I think he catches him. I think he could just be like a 2-punch fucking knockout. Excuse my language there. I got Derek Lewis here. I want to pick the young prospect against somebody, but I mean, I think once you get hit, man, the game is all different. My guy Lewis has been in some bad spots, and I don't even know if the best Denny's can do is get Lewis in a bad spot. But I know as soon as freaking he can hit him with a knee and uppercut, my guy is, I don't think ever been hit like that inside the octagon. So let's go D. Lewis here. Come on, don't make me look like a fool, Derek. Don't make me look like a fool. On to the co-main event, ladies and gentlemen. We got Aaron Get Blanche to Blanchfield versus Thug Rose Namajunas. 12-2 coming also lost to Firat. Yeah, where's that fight? We should have that fight in a month. Where's Firat and Zhang versus Rose Namajunas, active as hell this year. Coming off a couple wins. I believe a win against Tracy Cortez and Amanda Hebos. But I like Blanche here. How do you not like Blanche getting a little rebound? I don't understand why we haven't gotten a Zhang Wei Li fight and Amanda Firat. There must be some freaking travel. They must not be able to fight in the United States or some stuff like that, right? It's got to be some, and they can't fight in Abu Dhabi. You know, they can't fight in Salt Lake City. They can't fight in New York. They can't fight in Vegas. So where the hell are they going to fight, right? That's what I think is kind of happening. I digress. Tangent. I got Blanche here. I mean, Namajunas is on a nice run, a little recovery from her post-title lost to Esparza and some tough losses after that, but I just like Blanchfield here. I know I'm a Jersey homer for her too, but I mean I'm picking Blanchfield. I just think she has the means to win. I think she's got the win condition. We know where she wants to take the fight, and if she can execute her game plan, I think coming off a loss to Firat is also I wouldn't say the best, but not the worst either. I think it made her realize that she actually does need to develop slightly to win the title. I mean, she's only 25 years old. A loss to Manon Firat, and I believe that was on foreign. No, that was actually in Jersey in fight night. So good win by Firat. So I think 34-29 though. I think like that's again the experience factor. Blanche was mighty. I don't know if she was ready, and I mean a 5-rounder against a top contender tells you where you are or not going to be. And this one's a 5-rounder. I got Blanchfield again. I just think Namajunas ain't going to be able to hang with that 25 minutes. Like, are you going to be able to catch Blanchfield like that? Like, I don't think she's physically imposing enough in the women's flyweight division to make that happen. I got Blanchfield here. I'm never picking against her, to be honest. Like, she can take another loss, and I'll probably still pick her. I'm not saying I don't like Thug Rose, and I don't think she has a great chance to actually get a win. I'm just on the Blanche train. I mean, granted, I just think it can go to decision. I think she can get submitted, and I think she can get knocked out. I think, Blanchfield, she really has to be dominated on the feet for her to win, because her game is so strong, taking her down, working the submissions, anybody's live for it. And she's proven that she will finish anybody below her. So this is like kind of that barometer, the measuring stick for Blanchfield. I hate using that, it's all a measuring stick. Every single thing is, but she's got to put that she's got to keep the gate where she is, right? And not let other people get close with her game. Again, I don't know how much the experience is going to be. Like, I know a lot of these women, 32, so still 7 years age gap. I like Blanchfield a lot. I think Namajunas, though, like I said, there is the fighter coming up and down, the champ coming back. But sometimes that's short-lived. Sometimes the prospects on the champ on the uprising, the champs coming back don't meet the prospect train moving forward, right? It's kind of what keeps the sport propelling, right? Whitaker, Holloway going down proves how much the Chimaev-Topuria train and the young guns are actually the supreme fighters in the UFC, no matter how much experience they go down. So sometimes talent wins out over time, and I think that's what it does here. I got Blanchfield over Namajunas. Close fight, though. Should be great. But, I mean, Blanchfield by submission should definitely be live, and I think it's a pretty even pick'em, right? I think Blanche is a slight favorite. I mean, she's the one of the favorites that I like on the main card. I like a lot of the underdogs. I like Lewis. I like Ribeiro. I like Barrial. So a lot of close fights, a lot of underdogs I like, and a few favorites that are going to be not the most confidence in a lot of favorites this week. So should be a great, exciting fight card. I mean, I'm hoping we have a big week. I'm hoping the reads are looking good. I took an extra day to kind of get my energy, center myself, and really get into a nice dive. So hopefully, I want to go 10-4 out of 14 cards, get up to that, next threshold of wins over fights, and let's go Blanche here. On to the main event, ladies and gentlemen. Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albazi, flyweight 5-round title eliminator. Moreno versus Albazi, main event, Canada. Let's go. What do you guys think about this one? I mean, Albazi coming off the neck injury, should have lost to Kai Kara France, was absolutely gifted a win versus Moreno here. I don't understand, again, how Moreno is a considerable betting favorite. I think he's got that post-title hangover, and it's hard for him to get up for fights that aren't for the belt. He's a very emotional fighter as well, and I think that's to his benefit and to his demise at the same time here. I think this is an Albazi spot. I think Albazi has a dog. What worries me is Albazi in the 5-round fights not being able to make it that far, but as some fighters don't worry about that. The fight might not go 5 rounds. The fight might end earlier. I will say that Albazi has this is my thing. Like, when you question guys like Albazi, canceled bouts, not the sternest competition. These guys are cherry picking some of their spots as well, right? Cancel this bout. Don't want to fight this guy. I'll fight this guy. Finish him. Get a lucky win. I'll finish him, right? Like, watch Hamzat Gilbert Burns. Dude, Gilbert Burns beat Hamzat Chimaev. Dude, 2-3 went to Gilbert. Let's just, so like sometimes these guys are fortunate to get wins and it builds off the career, and it's like, they're not punished for their loss in terms of like their hype train, but they're not gifted a win either. But I think Albazi, off the gifted win, has a great performance. Off an injury, off a training session, probably on another round of roids, allegedly. But yeah, I think Albazi comes in here and starches Moreno. It's just something with Moreno. I just feel like that saga with Figueiredo, it just took so much out of it. You can't live a life like that for so many years, fighting the same guy with the stakes and consequences that high, and then go on to do other stuff and expect to be as juiced. And I'm not trying to say this is a bad, I just think it's a tough spot for Moreno to come back, dude. I think it's a tough spot. He did get that Kai Kara France in there. He has fought other people since then, but I think it's something he's going to have to overcome, and he's going to be able to overcome it against somebody that like Moreno or somebody like Albazi, kind of a train coming through, massive hype. I mean, and I think he's got a lot of strength and power for the division. I think he's kind of reminds me of Figueiredo in terms of like what he can present as problems for Moreno, and I like Albazi here. I think it's a pretty pretty easy underdog pick here, and I could look stupid, but I mean, Moreno's not old, but he has a lot of fight experience, right? He fights older than 30. You know what I mean? Those wars were going on 4 or 5 years ago, right? Like 4 years ago. That's a lot. 26 years old to be going up there, you age faster. I like Albazi here. We'll do a quick recap. Hopefully have a monster week. Feeling really good about the picks. We're starting off with Petrovic. We're going Gibson, City, Romanov, Zala, Charles Jourdain, De Silva Lipsky, Zahabi, Mike Mallet, Marc-Andre Barrio, Bronson Ribeiro, Derek Lewis, Git Blanched, and Amir Albazi. Like, comment, subscribe. Comment all your winners in the comment section. If you get them all right, I'll give you $100. I appreciate the support, everybody. Thanks for showing up week in and week out. I love making these videos. Look forward to the fights this Saturday. Peace and love. Take care of yourself, everybody.